Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Fantasy Football Consistency Show. We are already going into week 6. Time flies when you're having fun, and time really flies when you live in Florida because hurricanes make it fly much faster. And of course, you can't hold this man down, can't be stopped. Hurricanes will not hold him back. My friend Ron Rigney from Florida. Ron, thanks for toughing it out. I know you were a little south of this one. You got pounded by the Fort Myers one a few years ago, but so you're a hurricane expert at this point. But welcome, glad to see you. Glad everybody's doing okay.
Yeah, doing good, man. Like we were talking about off air, I think I got to pick up some limbs, and that's about the worst of it. So pretty fortunate here, pretty lucky here. A little bit north, not so much. So heart goes out to those people for sure. And anytime you can dodge anything like that, as scary as I think was looking on radar yesterday, anytime that like I said, we have some limbs to pick up, and we were a couple hours without power, it's all good. So yeah, week 6 already. Hopefully you're getting that consistency. You're getting those clutch games, those quarterbacks, and those tight ends. Not so much maybe there, but maybe you loaded up on wide receivers and running backs, and you're getting your clutch games there. So we're going to talk about that as we go along.
Absolutely. And finally, week 5, we had this like breakout of scoring. I guess preseason is over for the offense. They had their 4 weeks. In week 5, they kind of exploded. A lot more wide receivers were putting up some points. Running backs are still doing good. Quarterbacks, like I said, it was a pretty good week overall. I think we had about 14 quarterbacks who earned a clutch game. So, yeah, scoring was way up. Last week I had Brian Drake join me from Fantasy Points, and he was kind of we were discussing that is like, well, this is going to be basically the new norm is that you've got to give this 4 weeks to get through the preseason for these guys because they don't play, and so they're working out the kinks or working out the everything to get in sync, get things functioning, and so all of a sudden, boom, people, like I said, people were starting to put up some points. So let's look at the quarterback position. It's been ugly. It's been getting better. Interestingly enough, like I said, a very good week for quarterbacks. We actually raised the clutch factor from 18.5 up to over 19, so 19.05. So now we're getting into some a little bit more realistic scenarios here for these quarterbacks. But there's still a very quick separation, not a lot. So right now there are exactly 12. I'm sorry, there's exactly 9 quarterbacks who are 60% consistent or better. Everybody else is 50% or below. And if you drop to 50% and say 50% and above, you're exactly at 12, which, okay, we're supposed to be over 50, but it shows you that it has not been a good year for quarterbacks. I mean, before we get to the goods, let's just take a look at the not so goods. So Dak Prescott, 6th in total points, 40% consistent. Josh Allen, 7th, 40% consistent. Kyler Murray, 8th, 40% consistent. Brock Purdy, 12th, 40% consistent. Kirk Cousins, 13th, 40% consistent. And we can drop down. Anthony Richardson, we know, has been having his struggles. Patrick Mahomes may be the killer of them all, though. 14th in total points, 20% consistency. That is not what we want out of Mr. Mahomes. Is he winning football games? Yes. Do we care? No, we do not. We care about our fantasy team. Damn it, Patrick. Get your shit together. So we need him to pick it up. Like I said, my wonderful team that's in the Independence Day Classic with Howard Bender and everybody, 2 tight end two tight ends have to start. I drafted Sam Laporta and Trey McBride. I have Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback. I have David Montgomery. I have Brian Robinson, and I'm on Ron St. Brown, and I'm 1-4. I don't know what to do.
Not how we drew it up.
I just I quit. I give up. Now that's one of my worst teams. That's that's a pretty damn good team.
It is a good team
to be my worst team. But anyway, as we look at the upper echelon here of the quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, perfect 5 for 5. This year, he's playing like the MVP he was allegedly last year. So maybe he just needed that. And of course, it doesn't hurt to have Derrick Henry in the backfield, right? Certainly that they have helped each other. Jordan Love is a perfect 3 for 3. Got 2 straight since he's come back at 80%. We got 4: Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, Geno Smith. Only one of them is what we would normally think as 80 percentile quarterbacks. Let's talk about those 6. Do you, we all know, we know what we're getting with Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. They've been there before. Jordan Love had a great second half last year. He looks like he's continuing that mark. Their defense isn't very good either, so that's certainly making them have to throw the ball a lot. But Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith certainly are both surprises. Tonight, Geno's got a tough matchup against San Francisco, or does he? San Francisco's defense has not been as strong as it normally is, too. So of these 6, who stands out to you, not only as where they're at, but will they continue this? I mean, let's not talk about Lamar and Burrow, because we expect them to continue this. This is what we want. We expect this out of them. But the others, the Jordan Love, Daniels, Mayfield, Smith, of those guys, which one of them just has impressed you and you think will continue that consistency moving forward?
I think you got to talk about Jordan Love at the beginning, and the thing about this top echelon here of these clutch factor getting quarterbacks is the fact that they're all value guys. I mean, when you look at this top few, Lamar Jackson cost you a little bit. Joe Burrow was a little more expensive. C.J. Stroud was a little more expensive. But like me, for example, I got Jordan Love a lot of places around 9, round 10, and you got guys like Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels started out as your backup for most squads, right. I'm sure. I got a couple of teams like that where I bench him for whoever I had. I think I got one where I got him and Josh Allen, and it's like I'm starting to get to that point where I'm going to put Josh Allen on the bench for Jaden Daniels just because they can't play defense and they put up numbers. But again, Sam Darnold, you didn't pay much for him. Daniel Jones, you didn't pay much for him. So it's just you see these guys at the top. And if you waited on quarterback a little bit, or you did our con streaming concept that we talk about, where you get a couple of those guys a little bit later, you look at those defenses, you look at those matchups, and you're going with the best matchup. Those are guys that are right in that wheelhouse of what you were paying for a little bit later in your draft. And the depressing part is if you paid up for those quarterbacks, when you get further down that list, unfortunately, the Josh Allens, the Dak Prescotts, the Patrick Mahomes, those are the guys that you're seeing a little bit lower down, and it kind of depresses you.
Yeah, it every year, last year we had our big 3, Allen, Hurts, and Lamar. But Lamar didn't have the consistency as he has this year so far. But I think it's just becoming more and more prevalent that with these defenses all adjusting to the, keeping the 2 high safeties and keeping things in front of them and not giving up the big plays, seems to be working. Whether it's winning football games or not, we don't know, but maybe I'm sure it is. I mean, again, Patrick Mahomes is winning football games. They're 5-0, but he's also 20% consistent, and he's killing anybody with a fantasy team that he's on. Like you said, we talked about the 60%, 50%. We've got CJ Stroud, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I wanted just to highlight a little bit. He's put up 3 out of his last 4. Yeah. For a guy that after the first week, everybody was literally ready to hang from a tree and set him on fire. All of a sudden, he's not doing too bad. And he did last week pretty well, earned a clutch game last week without Malik Neighbors in the lineup, bringing Wayne Dale Robinson finally into, the limelight a little bit. So you got Wayne Dale and you've got Malik Neighbors. He's got 2 young, very good receivers, competent receivers. Theo Johnson's doing a really nice job as a rookie at tight end. This team, Daniel Jones I'm starting to now get mad about the fact that I traded away Daniel Jones for a bag of rocks in the offseason, because I was like, all right, he's done, But it's all good. But of those, again, Jalen Hurts, Joe Flacco, and Tua. Well, Tua is pretty much out of the picture for a while, but in that group, Darnold started off hot, cooled off last week, but he played bad weather against the Jets in England. We'll give him a pass. Does he continue to be as successful as he had been in the first 3 to 4 weeks?
I mean, the weapons are there. I mean, he's got the guys to throw to, and like I said, we talked about he's going to be getting T.J. Hawkinson back, but it's something where it's just hard to trust him. I mean, it's hard to trust him, and it's hard for me to get behind him. I don't have him anywhere, so I don't really have to worry about it. But I don't know that I trust just yet that he is going to be one of the top 10 consistent quarterbacks that we have when the season's over. Very possible. Kevin O'Connell, you love him as a coach, doing a great job there. I mean, and if anybody can get him coached up, it's him. But again, barring any big injury, he should be right there. But it's just hard to trust.
I hear you. All right, let's move on to the running back position, which has been very, very favorable so far this year. We have 20, count them, 20 running backs who are 80% consistent or higher. 12 100s. We got a couple of 2s for 2, but they are Pacheco. I'm sorry, they are Kareem Hunt and Pacheco, which, kind of just so realistically, the Kansas City backfield is 4 for 5, just to let you know. But the top group, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Barkley, Brian Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, Bijan Robinson, Kenneth Walker, and like I said, Pacheco and Hunt. That top group, I don't think there's too many surprises. I mean, either I drafted some of them or I passed because not because I hate, I mean, like I have Barkley on a team or two, but it just seemed like where Barkley was going, I was usually grabbing my wide receiver too. Maybe it was, a Cooper Kupp or a AJ Brown or whatever. So not that I was against it, I just didn't know he'd be doing this well. And we should have expected it. He's been very talented, even playing for a bad team. He should be good with that. But, I have a lot of Brian Robinson, a lot of Montgomery, a lot of Kenneth Walker. So those teams are all doing very well for me. Thank you very much. How about you? You got what do you got in that group? And out of that group, has anybody surprised you that they're still that high? I think if it was anyone for me, it's Kyron Williams. I mean, they were talking about him basically being replaced in preseason by Blake Horn because he wasn't the future for them, or that's why they drafted Blake. And Kyron Williams is just kicking ass like he did last year, and everybody just kind of poo-pooed him in the offseason, and he's out there doing it every week on a team that has no wide receivers.
Well, and part of the reason that Kyron Williams is up there too is he's found the end zone quite a bit, but the yards have also been there as well. But I kind of wondered that too, because Kyron Williams, it's not like he's an old back. It's not like he's got a lot of miles on him. He's still got a lot left in the tank, and he's showing that. I was a big Blake Corum guy in the offseason, and I thought they'd try to work him in a little bit more, but it's been exactly the opposite. He's gotten a little bit of run here and there, but it's been the Kyron Williams show, and rightfully so. And I think some of what lends itself to that is the injuries to Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. I mean, they don't have a lot to throw to, so they're going to have to incorporate Williams quite a bit. As far as surprises there at the top, I think the only thing that kind of surprises me is the fact that both Detroit running backs are up there at 100%. I wouldn't have thought they both would have been. We're both big David Montgomery fans. I have him and Kenneth Walker in one of my dynasties, my starting backfield. Team's doing pretty well. So I wouldn't have thought that both of them would have been very far down the list. Maybe one at 100%, maybe one at 60, both at 80, something like that. But that's, and I think that's, if you've got Jared Goff and he's 1 for 4 as far as clutch games, or 1 for 5 or whatever it is, that's not great. So a lot of that's going to the running backs. But there's not a ton of surprises here, I don't think. But again, the one just kind of outside there, he's at 100%. Probably my biggest surprise is Kareem Hunt. Again, wouldn't have thought. I mean, you got to think about those guys that are always out in street clothes when the season starts. It could be signed and thrust into action. And everybody was big on trying to add Carson Steele that first week. And if you've watched Carson Steele play, dude plays hard, but he's just not quite there yet. And Kareem Hunt, he's been there, he's done that, he's been a Chief before. He was my saving grace last week, got me a win in the Kings Classic. scoring me about 14 points. And when you look at what you had to pay as far as fab for Kareem Hunt, I think we paid 12, 13 bucks. People were throwing 25, 30 bucks at Carson Steele. And so that paid off. And I think that's going to pay off in the long run as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Picked up Kareem Hunt in both Kings Classics the week before he actually started playing, when they signed him, and he was officially like on the waivers. And I'm going to just admit it, because he's certainly one of my favorite people in the fantasy world, and he's a million times smarter than me, and that's Jeff Mans. I was driving home from work, and he's like, for all you people that are going to drop a ton of money on Carson Steele, I'm going to tell you right now, do not do that. Pick up Kareem Hunt now for a couple bucks, and you'll thank me later. And I was like, well, okay. He's smarter than me. And it's paying off. Like you said, I have him in both of them. And yeah, he's, really filling a nice void that, I lost with Cooper Kupp went down. So he's filling in those flex spots. Those 3 flex spots are, if you can get 30 points out of your 3 flex spots combined, that's a pretty damn good week. And, like you said, he's getting 15 himself, and certainly that's been working out. And that's why I'm doing pretty well in those leagues so far. Knock on wood, whatever.
Or if you're like me, when you didn't pay attention to bye weeks in the draft and you had 5 starters in a Kings Classic on bye last week, and you needed Kareem Hunt and you actually got a victory. So there's also that dilemma as well. So we did it. We came through.
Nothing wrong with that. So at the 80 percentile, James Cook, who now looks like he's going to be missing this week, Jordan Mason, Chuba Hubbard, Aaron Jones, Charbonnet, James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne. This is an interesting group for sure. I drafted Hubbard in a number of leagues knowing that Jonathan Brooks wasn't going to be there for a while. I wasn't expecting him to be this good. I think they're going to have a tough decision when Jonathan Brooks comes back because Hubbard has played this well. He's 7th in total points after the first 5 weeks as a guy that's supposed to be the backup when the rookie comes back. So we'll see how that plays out. ETN has been getting a lot of grief. We know how much the fantasy world loves the shiny new toys. Shiny new toy is now a tank. And his last name is Bigsby. And all of a sudden, you would think, just like Kyron Williams was treated in the offseason, now Travis Etienne, I mean, you listen to these people or you read the stuff and you think like, oh, they're just throwing Travis Etienne into the hurricane. Like, get rid of him. We don't want him. He's worthless. Tanks Bigsby's a god. And you're like, wait a minute. He's 24, he's 4 for 5 here fantasy. So you don't want him, trade him to me or Dron. We'll take him. But your thoughts on this 80% group? I mean, like you said, good players, better than average players, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of guys that you didn't take too high, or a couple on here is handcuffs as well. You see Zach Charbonnet, the Champagne of running backs. You're handcuff him to Kenneth Walker if you're lucky. Jordan Mason is the handcuff for McCaffrey. So a lot of those, again, another guy that I always hear. You mentioned Jeff Mans earlier. Another guy that I hear shouting from the rooftops every season: handcuff, handcuff, handcuff. And here's prime example of how it pays off for you. I had Trey Sermon last week on my Jonathan Taylor teams. Came in, didn't light it up, but scored a touchdown, got me a clutch game. So we'll take that. Yeah, but right. I think Chuba Hubbard's got to be the biggest one there, just because I don't think anybody expected anything really. And they still got Miles Sanders in the fold too. If you remember, Miles Sanders kind of lost there in Carolina. So we weren't expecting a lot out of that. You definitely weren't expecting this out of Chuba Hubbard. But anybody else from there, James Cook was another guy that I have a lot of places just because I felt like he was a really affordable RB1. Going to be kind of sketchy here this week if he is hurt and he doesn't play. Wasn't able to handcuff Ray Davis in every place. So if you are a James Cook owner and you don't have Ray Davis and he's out there, you need to run and grab him now, or get him so the James Cook owner does not get him because he's gotten some run and he looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. One of my favorite rookie running backs. So he's going to pay off if you can grab him.
Mm-hmm, definitely. 75% Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler. Both have been kind of up and down. Not bad. Eckler missed a game. So that's why he's 3 for 4, even though they've had 5 games. Pollard has been better than expected. Both of them don't have high points because they've each only played 4 games. 60 percentile. This one, this trio here may be the most. I don't know how you when you describe it. Just nobody matches. So Brees Hall, right? Top 5 stud, drafted top 5 by everybody. Ramondre Stevenson, probably a solid RB2. Everybody drafted. Zach Moss. He wasn't sure. Is it Chase Brown? Is it Zach Moss? They're all tied at 60%. If you're a Brees Hall owner, you're very upset. Ramondre, well, he's playing hurt. Now he can't hold on to the football. He's fumbling all the time. Zach Moss, some games he has touchdowns, and some games Chase Brown does better. It's a real mess. Obviously, if you're a Brees Hall owner, you're very upset. Do you feel like is it Nathaniel? Is this just another Nathaniel Hackett disaster? That's what it seems like to me.
It's hard to say. I mean, Robert Saleh is the guy that kind of got ousted in that situation. So it'll be interesting to see how that team responds. But yeah, because Brees Hall was the #1 pick for everybody that has him, and he's not paying off. I'm a Zach Moss owner, and you're dead on. If Zach Moss, the yardage totals are kind of modest. He doesn't catch the ball a lot if he's not putting up touchdowns. Luckily, he has been in most games. But yeah, Chase Brown is the guy that you could have gotten a lot later on, the little bit more explosive guy that's paying some dividends for you. But yeah, that is an odd group there as far as if you look at ADP, because it's one guy sitting at the very top and then a couple of other guys that you got much later on.
Right. Okay. Just going down there, now we get into the 50% and belows. I mean, a lot of unique names. I'm not going to get too deep into them. But there's some names that were drafted some as your RB1, some as your RB2. We hope they'll turn them around. Some are injuries, some are not. But definitely, if you didn't hear your running backs being brought up, they're in that group, kids. Just going to let you know. All right, let's look at the wide receivers. So we have 40 wide receivers above 60%. So again, receivers seem to be turning back to where they used to be. Remember, just a few weeks ago, we were like, wow, this is really bad. There is only 7 100%ers. 2 of them have only played 1 game each, and that's AJ Brown and some guy I don't even know. Nico Collins, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, Chris Godwin, Devontae Smith. Some of those missed some games due to injuries, but if you're just going for straight 5 out of 5, Collins, Jefferson, Godwin. All 3 of those guys, very good receivers. I drafted Godwin a lot because of just 1, he's always consistent. 2, he became the slot receiver in this offense, which is like just the thing to be, and he's paying off week after week. He's been great. 80 percentile, we got 9 of them: Jamar Chase, Jaden Reed, Drake London, Stephon Diggs, Brian Thomas Jr., CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Rashid Shaheed, Wayne Dell Robinson. So again, quite the group at 80%. We've got rookies like Wayne Dell, Brian Thomas. Jaden Reed is only in his 2nd year. Yet we have veterans, of course, Chase, London, Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore. I was shocked to see DJ Moore was at 4 out of 5. Like, I thought he was having an awful year. Now, I don't have DJ Moore in any league, so that's why I wasn't sure. But I did not realize that he actually has been that consistent. So for all the people who are out there dogging him about not pulling his weight, he's not doing too bad, guys. Yeah, he's 15th in total points, but 80% consistency. Out of that group, Ron, surprises to you? I think 1 jumps out, but I know it's because he had that 1 big game, and that's Jaden Reed. Probably the biggest surprise to me because he's 5th in total points, but he just had that 1 monster game. What about you? How they look to you?
Well, DJ Moore, definitely. I was all on the DJ Moore train before last season, got off that train this season just because of Caleb Williams, so I never would have thought that either. But the guy I think to me in that group that's the biggest surprise is Brian Thomas Jr. Now, we know those LSU wide receivers as rookies can come in and show out. We saw it with Malik Neighbors. We've seen it. You can go down the list. of all the guys that they churn out. But I never would have thought he would be ninth in total points. I have him in one of my dynasties, got him, had a later first round pick and was able to snag him. And I actually had to start him last week, and that worked out beautifully for me against that Indy defense that we know cannot defend the pass or really defend much of anything right now. Other than that, another guy that's right there is Rashid Shaheed. I mean, he was the hot name in Scott Fish just because he was returning kicks, but honestly, he's been the hot name in fantasy wide receiver circles. Period. I mean, he's just been lights out. He's almost good for a big play every week, and you saw that against the Saints the other night, man. Derek Carr chucked one down the field and dude hauled it in, and it was beautiful. So I'd say those are probably the two guys I'm most surprised at. I did want to toot my own horn a little bit too. You see Tutu Atwell there, 3 for 4. Told you a couple weeks to go get him. Not putting up big numbers, but hey, in these bye weeks and in the Kings Classic, when you got 3 flexes, you could do a lot worse.
Heck yeah. No, you're right. Jameson Williams, they were on a bye last week, so he was at 75. Of course, Rice is out. I'm on Ra, again, 75%, but you would think he was one of the worst wide receivers because everybody's like, oh, he's having a terrible season and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah, he's 18th in total points. Okay, that's not what we want out of our wide receiver one, but at least the consistency is there, even though he's 18th in total points. So he'll get there. It's just a matter of time. 67% T. Higgins, Devontae Adams, who basically is just sitting out. Josh Downs is coming back, has been playing well in his return, 2 straight clutch games. A lot of guys at 60%, all over the place from a name perspective, from, youngsters and no names, or not no names, but people who haven't been really in the spotlight as fantasy. Darnell Mooney, Alan Lazard, Alec Pierce, those kind of folks. Jalen Tolbert have, of course, Juwan Jennings has had a couple of nice games, had a big one a couple of weeks ago. But there's also some big names that we don't want to see down there if we drafted them, like Terry McLaurin, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf. They're there points-wise. I mean, Mike Evans is 10th in total points, but only 60% consistency. I'm a little surprised by that. You watch the games, like I was watching the Tampa game, was it last Thursday or Monday? When were they on TV? Monday, right?
Yes. I don't know. I don't remember.
Anyway, they were on TV at some point.
They were on TV somewhere.
Yes. And, they trying to get him the ball in the end zone. I mean, he's definitely the fit. And in fact, he got a touchdown that game. Now that I remember it. So he did earn a clutch game in that one. But again, that brings him up to 3 out of 5. Again, at the end of the year, those are the guys we don't usually worry about. They'll get their thing. I think the one that seems probably the most, I don't say disappointing, this is probably the biggest surprise. Not necessarily, not Garrett Wilson to me. It's Chris Olave.
Yeah. Because
he was the one that it's like, okay, you have nobody else to throw to. Okay, Shaheed gets open on some deep passes. I get it. Is it play calling? Because I don't know if you watched that Kansas City game. That was the Monday night game.
Mm.
It was 3rd and 2. They're throwing a bomb to Shaheed. It's 3rd and 4. They're throwing a bomb to Shaheed. I'm like, why isn't Chris Olave just doing a 5-yard out? And you get the first down and then think about the bombs to Shaheed. We've heard so much about how great of an offense coordinator, what's his name is? I can't think. What's our coordinator at New Orleans?
I knew you'd ask me, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, anyway. Kubiak, Clint Kubiak.
Yes.
So,
good call.
The first 2 games when they scored 40 points in both games, he was a genius and a god. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, did they figure him out already after 2 games? Because he hasn't done anything. But then I was watching, like you said, that game, and I'm like looking at some of these play calls, and I'm like, do you coach the Browns too? Because this is what I see when we play. It's like just stupid things. But anyway, and I have Shaheed and I have Olave, so I was kind of ready for both. So it didn't matter. But Ron, in that group, I know Alec Pierce, of course, is a favorite of yours. Scary Terry's 3 straight clutch games, certainly starting to bring it back into play. Christian Kirk has put up 3 straight. So, we're starting to see some good stuff out of these guys. So we assume the consistency will continue for those folks. Now, the Saints is going to be a problem because now they're starting Spencer Rattler, right?
Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, so that should be interesting. But that's happening a lot this year, right? They're cruising along and the quarterback goes down, and all of a sudden the whole team. I'm worried about Kamara. The only thing I'm hoping for is they throw him 14 checkdowns a game and he gets 10 catches for 50 yards, and I get 15 points, and we're good.
Yeah.
And we might do that. That's exactly what they might do with him. That's what I'm hoping for. So, your thoughts on that group?
So, as you know, I got to go a little homer here as a Colts fan. You wouldn't have thought that Alec Pierce and Josh Downs are going to be the more consistent receivers, but here we are, and it's only going to go up for them. Their opportunities are only going to get better because Michael Pittman ruled out for multiple weeks a couple of days ago with an injury. Anthony Richardson coming back, and as a Colts fan, you want to see Anthony Richardson shine out, but Joe Flacco in there is when they've been moving the ball, and he goes back to the bench to his backup role. You mentioned, I'm glad you brought up Spencer Rattler. I think I brought up this last week as I have a dynasty team where my quarterback options were Russell Wilson, Bryce Young, and Tua. This week at both quarterback spots, I am starting Taysom Hill and Spencer Rattler. So I actually have two quarterbacks.
Taysom Hill's playing?
I don't know. I'm hoping so because it's better than nothing. I think he's questionable. I don't know, but all I know is I have two guys in those spots that could get me 1 or 2 points, which is more than I've been getting the last 3 weeks. Yeah, so we'll roll with them. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to point out is back up at the top. A.J. Brown heading into this week for the first time without an injury designation. So I don't know about you. I know you have him a couple places, but I need a big game out of A.J. Brown. And those Jalen Hurts owners are looking for that as well. Devontae Smith's still questionable. So we've seen what that Philly offense has been like without those two big playmakers. So hopefully they'll get back on track there. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys will normalize and get their clutch games. Another guy that I'd love to see a lot higher that I got in a lot of places is Zay Flowers. Like Steve Zay Flowers is a little bit higher up on the list, and I think that will come in time. Like like you guys were talking about last week. Heading into week 5, we're starting to knock the rust off, and we're starting to kind of normalize a little bit. And I think a lot of these guys will go up from there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's go to our favorite position, the tight ends. We have one perfect tight end at 4 for 4. His name is George Kittle, which means he'll be hurt soon. And then he'll miss 5 games and he'll be back to normal. But for now, he's there, second in total points. Interestingly enough, Brock Bowers is first in total points and is 60% consistent. That tells you all you need to know about tight ends, folks. At 75%, we have 3, all at 3 out of 4 games. Jake Ferguson, Turd Ferguson, Trey McBride, and Brenton Strange, the backup to Evan Ingram. Of course, I never even thought about handcuffing when I drafted him, and I should have. Foster Moreau's at 67%. He's the backup tight end in New Orleans. And like I said, Brock Bowers at 60. Everybody else, there's only 6 tight ends, not counting one guy who played 1 game, Blake Whiteheart, that are over 50%, Ron. I don't think I've ever seen that this bad. I mean, this is just pathetic. Just pathetic. At this point, it's just one of those you just put a guy in, you just hope they catch a touchdown because let's see what the scoring factor has been changed to. It is at 7.92, so it's almost up to 8. So again, 1 catch, 10 yards, touchdown, 8 points, you're in. Congratulations, you entered a clutch game. That's all you need at this point, and it's good enough. That's the sad part. If you can get anybody to do anything in a football game, it's just magical. I drafted guys like Kyle Pitts and who did I draft a lot of? Kyle Pitts, Jake Ferguson. I did, which helped.
I know. We both have a lot of David Njoku as well. He's another guy.
Right, David Njoku. We just need him to get healthy. I think he'll get the catch. Of course, now we've got Tucker Kraft coming from out of nowhere in 2 games. He is now 3rd in total points, Ron. He was 0 for 3 in clutch games going into week 4. He's now 3rd in total points because he's had 2 good games. Oh, Isaiah Likely is still 5th in total points because he had 29 in the first week.
Yeah.
And he's got 52 for the year. So he scored 23 points over the next 4 weeks, and he's still 5th in total points. How sad is that, kids? It is sad. And like I said, it could be worse. You could have Mark Andrews. You could have Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz, Dalton Kincaid, 40%, Kyle Pitts, 40%, Travis Kelce, 40%, and he's put up 2 straight clutch games. He was 0 for 3. Freiermuth put up 2 straight clutch games, and now the bitch is hurt. What? Come on, Pat. You don't get hurt. So, yeah, it's just a hot mess. So what's the best thing you can do? Find a tight end that you hope can catch a touchdown, get 4 catches for 50 yards. That's a clutch game. You got to get 8 or more. So that's what you got to figure out. If you don't have one, pick things up. Eric All, the guy that last few weeks has got like 3 or 4 catches a game, 30, 40 yards, 6-7 points. It's close enough. May not be a clutch game, but if Gesicki gets hurt and he doesn't have to compete for time, it is what it is. So it is ugly. Ron, your thoughts on tight ends outside of vomiting? I don't know.
I mean, one of the things I can say is I do own George Kittle in a couple spots, and that's paying off. So let's just hope he keeps it together as far as the injuries. I almost wonder if we're getting to a point with tight ends where we're going to have to treat it like you just get a team's tight ends. You just start their tight end room instead. It's like defense, special teams. We may have to start doing that because it's awful. I mean, again, you get a catch for 10 yards and a touchdown. You got yourself a clutch game, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not great at all. Mark Andrews, what the heck is up with him? My son has him on his team, and he's got Evan Engram on his team, and he was able to add Mark Andrews off of waivers, and he's not getting production out of either one of these guys. They ought to be top 5, and he's always asking me what to do at tight end, and I can never tell him because everybody sucks. So it's kind of tough. The one thing, though, with Kansas City being on TV, basically every primetime game that there is, if you've watched them the last couple of weeks, I think it's kind of out of necessity, but kind of out of, oh, yeah, this guy's pretty damn good. Travis Kelce has been getting the ball early and often and quite a bit. I don't know that he's scored a touchdown just yet, but the targets have really been on the uptick the last couple of weeks. Again, they're without Rashee Rice. Hollywood Brown, I think, is close, but I don't know where he's quite at yet. When your top wide receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster, that's a problem. But Travis Kelce's still pretty good. And those 2 clutch games, if you've watched them, they've made a concerted effort to get him the football. So if you're a Kelce owner, you probably spent a pretty high pick on him, and it's going to start paying off because they finally remembered, oh, yeah, we've got this guy, and he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Is that the guy that's dating? Yeah, okay. Another guy to watch that I noticed in the Monday night game, and again, you got to have a deep bench. Pick up Noah Gray.
Noah Gray, yeah.
Because if Kelce gets hurt, he just becomes a top 5 tight end because they will go to him a lot. They threw him a touchdown pass this past week. Yeah. I didn't even look. Is he even on the list? Probably hasn't done much other than that. I don't see his.
It's surprising that he's not higher. Yeah, he's only got 1 clutch game, but I would have thought he would have been higher.
Yeah, I thought last game, didn't he catch a touchdown the other night? I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, so like I said, if you got a deep bench, or especially if you have Kelce, grab Noah Gray, just put him there. Just keep him because, again, you never know. It used to be you just did, handcuffs for running backs, right? Okay, this guy. But now I think it's starting to get more and more like, hey, start handcuffing your tight ends. And, I should have had Brenton Strange when I drafted Evan Engram. Never thought of it. But if I'd have kept him, if I'd have had him, he would earn three straight clutch games for me. And again, I'm a Kings Classic. So luckily I've been winning without Evan Engram, but been nice to have Brenton Strange scoring me some points just to be safe. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out who's out there. Watch the news. Like you said, these things are coming down like this. All of a sudden, Michael Pittman was out. Was that yesterday or today?
I think it was official yesterday. It was
Official
it was
yesterday.
rumored after the game, but it was
Yeah,
official yesterday that he was ruled out for
yeah,
whatever multiple weeks is.
yeah, and it's a back problem, which
Yeah,
not a good thing for
not great.
wide
Not
receivers.
great. Nope.
Not great. So he could be out the rest of the year. So he already was disappointing me. Now he's just a waste of my time. So anyway, keep an eye on that. So, all right, Ron, I'm assuming you have a card or two to show us before we take off here, as you always have.
Absolutely was miss getting a clutch game last week. So and again, I want to go a little new school this week. I do have a lot of the old stuff, but I still dabble a little bit. For with the new stuff. So in
Mhm.
honor of the game tonight, I got a nice little Panini insert, little Diamond
Ooh,
Hands DK Metcalf. That I don't know if you can see the effects on there, but nice
yeah,
nice
very
little one
cool.
there. And another guy that I think is just fun to watch, and that's Aiden Hutchinson. This dude
Oh,
is the real
yeah.
deal. Terrorizes quarterbacks. Nice little
Mhm.
rookie insert there from the Panini optics set there. So
Very
uh,
cool.
again, check us out, bigguyfantasysports.com. Ron Rigney on the X Machine. I apologize for not getting you the waiver wire article this week. Had a little bit of hurricane prep I had
Yeah,
to do.
yeah,
So a couple bonus ones. Go get Juju Smith-Schuster. I know he's not great, but he's all they got. And if you're in a more shallow league, Tyrone Tracy, if he's out there, he had a clutch game last week. Devin Singletary is not the guy. Tyrone Tracy's the better athlete in that backfield. So if he's out there, go grab him.
Mhm.
And again, we'll have the prop bets, we'll have the consistently cash and all the other great stuff at bigguyfantasysports.com. So go check it out.
Absolutely. Of course, you can find me at Bob_Lung. Uh, thanks very much for watching this week. As always, like Ron said, check everything else out. James Knight's article will be going up under the radar with consistency. Love his stuff. Great choices every week. So check that out too. This stuff is very important, folks. It can help you win. It can help you pick up the right players to get you through. It's helping us. We're winning. He's winning. I know we're all winning. So check it all out. So for Ron Rigney, I'm Bob Long. Take care. God bless. See you soon.